Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something, well, really complex. Something we all deal with every day, but maybe don't fully get our emotions.
Absolutely. And we've got some fascinating material to work with today, particularly this piece outlining like 10 key things we misunderstand about emotion.
Right. So, our mission here is to unpack these ideas, pull out the stuff that's genuinely surprising, and explore what it means for you, for how you experience things.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first up, the source material really comes out swinging with a big one. It argues emotional abuse. Well, it can be just as bad, maybe even worse than physical abuse long term. That feels significant.
It really does. And I think the key misunderstanding highlighted is that, well, because you can't always see emotional abuse,
Yeah.
no bruises, no broken bones, it often gets treated as less serious.
Yeah, but the impact described in the sources, it's deep. It's not just feeling hurt. It's this systematic grinding down of your self-confidence, your worth, who you even think you are.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
sources actually compare it directly to the long-term effects of physical abuse.
And they list examples, right? Like controlling behavior, threats.
Degrading comments, belittling, constant criticism, shouting. The sources are clear. This isn't just like small stuff. It's a pattern that really erodes someone.
And there's research backing this up. I think the sources mentioned a 2014 study.
By Joseph Spinazzola. Found childhood psychological abuse was harm-wise right up there with physical or sexual abuse.
Wow. It really forces you to think differently about harm, doesn't it? If it's invisible, does that make it less real? It challenges that whole idea, makes you wonder how you perceive harm that doesn't leave a physical mark.
Okay, the next point is really interesting. The sources suggest the feelings themselves, the emotions, can actually hang around longer than the specific memories that created them.
Whoa, wait, so the feeling sticks even if the details fade?
Yeah, think about it. You might not remember exactly what was said or what happened in that specific moment years ago, but the anxiety or the shame or whatever the feeling was, that can linger.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, the idea presented is that these old unresolved emotions kind of get projected onto what's happening now. You react to today based on yesterday's feelings.
Right, right. And the consequence then is huge if you don't deal with that past stuff.
You're basically letting it control your present without maybe even realizing why you feel so strongly about something new.
The sources link this to things like irrational fears or those anxieties that just seem to stick around day after day.
Exactly. They're suggesting it's often not random. There's usually a root cause back there somewhere that needs looking at if you want the current pattern to shift. It's a potential explanation for those really stubborn emotional responses.
Okay, changing direction a bit. Creativity and depression. The sources touch on this link, suggesting there's maybe a biological reason why creative folks sometimes struggle with depression.
Yeah, it's more than just, the tortured artist trope, according to this material. They talk about correlations, like expressing and feeling negative emotions activate certain brain parts.
Which parts?
Specifically, the right frontal cortex and the amygdala. These areas light up more.
Okay, so negative feelings activate those areas.
And
How does creativity connect?
Well, here's the kicker. The sources say those are the exact same areas that get fired up when people are consistently being creative, especially when they're like finding abstract meaning in concrete things.
Huh. So the brain machinery for tough emotions is also heavily involved in the creative process.
That seems to be the connection they're making. It's pretty striking. They mentioned an article, I think, from CNN back in 2014, talking of this dark side of creativity.
Right. So it offers this potential brain-based link between creative work and maybe being more prone to certain emotional states. Interesting.
Now, this next one,
Hmm?
it kind of flips the script on fear. The sources argue fear doesn't just mean run away. Surprisingly, it's often associated with interest.
Wait, interest. That sounds completely backwards. Fear means danger. Get out.
I know, right? But the sources describe fear as having, two invisible faces. Yes, one face wants to flee, but the other, it actually wants to investigate.
Investigate. Investigate the thing you're scared of.
Sort of, yeah. The idea is something isn't usually scary to you unless some part of you is also drawn to understand it or feels connected to it somehow or senses it's relevant to your experience.
So fear could be like an invitation, not just a warning sign, but maybe a signal saying, hey, pay attention to this, figure it out.
Exactly. It reframes fear as this complex signal. It's saying potential threat here, but also maybe, this is important, look closer. It prompts that question. What does this fear want me to explore?
And that actually leads really nicely into the next point the source would make. Feeling bad, feeling anything other than happy doesn't mean you're failing.
Oh, this is so important, especially today, right? With all the pressure to be positive all the time. So the sources are really clear. Emotional health means having the whole range. Negative emotions, they're actually useful. They're good for you, in a way.
In fact, they say that only feeling one thing, even happiness, all the time, that would actually be a sign of, like, mental illness.
Right, because that's just not how we're built. You're not supposed to be happy 24/7.
So what's the point of negative emotions then?
They're signals. Basically, alarm bells telling you something's off or needs attention or a boundary's been crossed.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So the focus shouldn't be just trying to squash the feeling.
No, it should be on figuring out what the feeling is telling you. Listen to the signal, address the issue. It gives you permission to feel angry or sad or frustrated, and actually use it as information.
Okay. Now, for something that, well, it kind of validates intuition, doesn't it? The sources talk about gut feelings, suggesting emotions can almost predict the future.
Yeah, they mentioned this emotional oracle effect study from Columbia University. It essentially found that people who paid attention to and trusted their emotions, they actually made better predictions about certain future events.
Seriously.
Yeah.
How is it psychic stuff?
Uh-huh. Probably not psychic. The explanation offered is more about the subconscious. Regularly tuning into your emotions gives you like a window into all the information your subconscious mind is processing.
Okay.
Think of it as your brain crunching tons of data, patterns, subtle cues, stuff you're not consciously aware of,
Hmm.
and then presenting the result as a feeling or an intuition.
So my gut feeling is maybe my brain's super fast analysis based on everything it knows.
That's the idea presented, yeah. It gives some real weight to listening to that intuition, doesn't it? That research they mentioned gives it a solid basis. Makes you think twice before dismissing a gut feeling.
Let's talk about pain, social pain versus physical pain. The sources suggest we can relive social pain, like rejection or humiliation, way more vividly than physical pain.
And some researchers, based on this, see it as potentially more damaging in the long run.
That's interesting. Why the difference? I mean, physical pain can be awful.
It can, but the memory of the sensation itself often fades pretty quickly. Think about stubbing your toe hurts like crazy then, but can you perfectly recall that exact sensation later? Probably not, unless there's some deeper psychological thing tied to it.
Okay, yeah. But social pain, like remembering being embarrassed.
That stuff can stick around, right? You can replay it in your head and feel that sting, almost like it's happening again.
So why would our brains prioritize that?
The evolutionary explanation offered is survival. Being part of the tribe, being accepted, was crucial for our ancestors. So our brains developed this powerful mechanism to make us really feel and remember social threats, like rejection, to help us avoid getting kicked out.
Wow, so that's why those social hurts can feel so intense and just keep replaying.
Okay, next point feels incredibly relevant right now. Stress. The sources argue it might be the most dangerous emotion, especially chronic stress, yet it's something we often just live with.
Yeah, we normalize it, right? Or even wear it like a badge of honor. I'm so stressed, I must be important.
Exactly. But the sources really push back on that. They say seeing relaxation or stress management as like a luxury or just pampering
Mm.
is a massive mistake. It's essential, like basic maintenance.
Why so dangerous? What does it actually do?
It weakens you. The sources say it debilitates pretty much every part of your body over time.
And they connect it to really serious health problems.
Directly. They link chronic stress to the biggest killers. Worldwide accidents, cancer, heart disease, suicide, you name it.
That's sobering.
It really is. It underlines that managing stress isn't just about feeling better day to day. It's potentially about, well, staying alive and healthy long term. You absolutely have to take it seriously.
And speaking of modern life, social media. The sources make this pretty strong claim that it's actually making us more emotionally disconnected, which feels ironic, right?
Totally ironic. Social media making us less social. But the mechanism they describe makes sense. You're constantly consuming these little highlight reels, these sound bites of other people's lives.
Yeah, the perfect vacation pics, the amazing job news.
Right. And it creates this warped view of reality. It's not the whole picture.
That makes us feel
What?
anxious.
Yeah, anxious about measuring up.
Oh, yeah.
See these perceived standards, often totally fake, and worry if your own life is good enough.
Which leads to spending more time scrolling and less time.
Less time in actual face-to-face connection with real people. And the sources emphasize, look, we need that genuine human intimacy, friends, family, partners for survival. psychologically and even physically.
So trading real connection for screen time is actually harming us.
That's the argument. It's becoming increasingly detrimental to our basic well-being.
Okay, last point, and it's a powerful one, often linked to Brené Brown's work referenced in the sources. You can't selectively numb emotions.
Ah, yes. This is huge. The core idea is if you try to shut down the hard stuff, the sadness, the fear, the
We
vulnerability.
can't just block those specific feelings.
Nope. When you numb those negative emotions, you inevitably numb the positive ones too.
So trying to avoid pain also means you block joy.
Exactly. You
Mm.
can't shut down your capacity for sadness without also dulling your capacity for real joy, gratitude, happiness, connection. It's like a package deal.
So the healthier way, according to this,
Is to embrace it all. Lean into the whole messy, beautiful spectrum of human emotion. Feeling the bad stuff is the price you pay for also getting to feel the really good stuff.
like in her book, Daring Greatly, it's about showing up for all of it.
Precisely. It's a reminder that being fully alive means feeling everything, not just the easy parts.
Oh, okay, that was a lot.
Yeah.
10 really thought-provoking, sometimes counterintuitive ideas about our emotions straight from the sources.
Yeah, from emotional abuse being as damaging as physical, to fear being linked with interest, gut feelings having scientific backing, and that final point about not being able to selectively numb, it definitely shifts your perspective.
It really does. Gives you a lot to think about regarding your own inner world.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And maybe, reflecting on all this, the final thought we want to leave you with, drawing from these sources, is this. What if you started treating all your emotions, even the difficult, uncomfortable ones, not as problems to fix or ignore?
As data, as signals.
Exactly. As intelligent guides. What might change if you truly listen to them?
Hmm.
Could they lead you to deeper understanding, maybe better connections, or just a more authentic way of being you? Something to ponder.